Okay, he says, Casey says, he was given a reading for somebody, and he said that the spirit was among those that were set upon to apply their abilities in relationship to the various conditions that were to be brought about to impel a people to submit to the influences that might be brought to bear. Additional data in the reading indicates that electrical and mechanical appliances were used to accomplish this. Now, today, Malta Temple, that's here, I hope we can find a better picture, today Malta is an island in the central Mediterranean Sea, about 180 miles east of Tunisia, Africa. Now, around 14,000 years ago, sea levels were lower, and Italy, Sicily, Malta, and Tunisia were joined by land bridges. Now, Malta has several now submerged temples that are described as monumental religious architecture. Now, Graham Hancock wrote Underworld, The Mysterious Origins of Civilization, and he described Malta Temple. He said it is not simple, rough and ready building experiments as one might expect, but beautiful, accomplished, harmonious structures that were the work of master architects. They were not easy to make, and they would be difficult to make in any epoch, any time. Now, it has a lot of different monuments. Okay. Now, the spaces within this thing you can see the clover leaf structure on that. Now, like clover leaf lobes of some kind of temple, he says they feel womb-like rather than strictly architectural. Some of the chambers were washed from top to bottom in red ochre, enhancing the organic effect. Others were gracefully painted with spirals, discs, volutes, honeycombed, animal patterns, the majority in red ochre, a few in black manganese dioxide pigment. Now, he's saying here's a cavernous circular hall hewn out of the bedrock. There was a window cut at eye level, right here. All kinds of strange things cut at eye level into the wall of a passage. And then an area beyond was hollowed out with infinite care to create a cyst about the height of a man, but you can only get into it through a window. Over here, over there, the rough blank face of the bedrock was first chiseled into a sweeping curve, then carved. He says there were about 33 rooms have been defined within the labyrinth. He said there were stairways descending into the lower depths were left hanging in midair after 6 steps down, with a straight fall of 6.5 feet below it. The ceilings were cut so loftily that they recede from view, and they're so low that you might stoop to pass beneath them. The result in the end, as we may still experience, is a surreal underworld of stairs and chambers and tunnels, like a game of three-dimensional snakes and ladders. Now, the temple also contained limestone carvings of a mother goddess. But look at the size of this mother goddess. When complete, she stood about 2.75 meters high, about 9 feet high. The time, whether at any rate, she's been worn down. But she wears a very full pleated skirt, and her calves are in proportion. She is supported, however, on small but seriously overworked feet. Now this is still in Malta, the stuff that's it. The temples contain other female figures. Some are standing, naked, or wearing only a pleated skirt. One or both arms are usually across the chest. The others may hang at one side. Now, the teeth of both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were found in Malta Temple. Scientists state that the inside of the temple contains clusters of lobe-shaped, egg-shaped rooms arranged in pairs, and astronomical and solar alignments were precisely and deliberately used in the architecture. Now, on June 20th, 2001, scientists gathered inside the main Malta temple at 6:05 a.m. to watch the sun strike the summer solstice stone. Now, one scientist explained the experience. Then I became aware of a presence, a faint, ghostly glimmering like moon glow that has appeared on the solstice stone. I don't know how long it lasts, a second or two only, I would guess. But while it is there, it seems less like a projection, which I know it to be, than something immanent within the stone itself. And it seems to function as a herald, for it fades almost as soon as it has appeared. And in its place, the full effect snaps on, instantaneously. It wasn't there, and then it was. The effect does curiously resemble a poleaxe, or a flag on a pole, and consists of a shaft, straight at the base, but widening a little towards the top. Weirdly, I do not claim it has any significance. This flag on a pole symbol is the ancient Egyptian hieroglyph Neter, meaning God, or a god, and not to be understood at all in the Judeo-Christian usage of the word, but rather as a reference to one of the supernatural powers or principles that guide and balance the universe. Manifested in the strange Stone Age temple, it glows as though lit by inner fire. Okay, what happened in this temple? Now, the Malta temple has underground burial chambers, and the original report published in 1910, these are just some excerpts, says that very few bodies were found lying in a natural position, and no special arrangements, such as trenches, sepulchres, stone enclosures, etc., were met with anywhere intended to receive a body. For example, in one cave, not a single skeleton was found lying with bones in position. At least 120 skeletons were buried in a space by, let's see, he gives us dimensions. And he says this is enough to show that a regular interment was out of the question, as not more than 12 bodies could be laid in such a limited space, but there were 120 there. Then this one says, no complete skeletons came to life, and the bones lay in confusion throughout the soil, as in the rest of the place, except that occasionally an arm with fingers and a complete foot and several vertebrae would be found lying with their parts in the right place. From the upright position of the isolated radius, it might be judged that the filling up of the cave was of a wholesale nature, rather than that individual burials took place. Animal bones were found mingled with humans. Now, excavators estimate the skeletons of somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 individuals lay tangled and mashed together. The flesh had been removed from the bones before the skeletons were discarded. Now, one excavator estimated the ruins contained the bones of about 33,000 people. But the official report says there were 7,000. But today only 6 skulls are left. Nobody has the faintest idea what happened to the rest of the bones. Now, anthropologist Graham Hancock examined the 6 skulls from Malta and described them. He said they all had the traits of long-headed African-descended people. And he described them as extremely and unsettlingly odd. He said they were weirdly elongated. And one of the skulls, though that of an adult, is entirely lacking the fossa median, the joint that runs along the top of the head. Now, Chancelet cannibals were a later form or re-evolution of Peking tribes. They evolved from the Malta Temple breeding program. Now, Chancelet cannibals had a vertical-sided skull with a pointed keel, broad cheekbones, and definite Eskimoid affinities. Now, Chancelet cannibals were unable to adapt to warmer climates. So now just hold on to that. Chancelet cannibals evolved in this multi-temple breeding program. Now, as many as they were a form of Peking man who lived about 200,000 years ago. He was brought back. Now, as many as 11 skulls of Java man, which date from 14,000 to 12,000 years ago, were discovered on the Solo River in Java. Anthropologists state that the skulls resemble those of Neanderthals who inhabited China around 150,000 years ago. Now, the brains of these later Java men were considerably larger than those of the earlier Java men who lived about 700,000 years ago, but they were on the small side in comparison to Homo sapiens. Now, other fossils very similar to Java man were found in South Africa. The fossils also date from around 13,000 years ago, and they have extremely primitive features, such as a huge brow ridge. Now, fossils from Rhodesia that are more massive than that of any known human skull, and fossils from South Africa, they were all found in association with the type of tools that Homo erectus used to make around, what was that, around Homo erectus would have been about 300